This week, on a very special episode of the Peach Life Podcast, we are joined by our friend Nick Haskell as we talk about his journey into van life, the tragic loss of his van Appa, and his hopes of getting back to a home on wheels. Join us each week as we talk to inspiring and creative individuals and learn just how big living tiny can really be. We hope you enjoy this episode of the Peach Life Podcast. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for new episodes each week. Nick, thank you for joining me today.
Absolutely, my man. Thank you, Josh. Ashford, pleasure to be here. Appreciate you.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it, man. This is going to be an interesting episode. Not in any way the way I thought my first live in-person one would be, but, you know, we can't predict the future and we never know what's going to happen. And I'm thankful that that everything has kind of happened the way it has happened with this. So to get started, I guess, on our story here today, Nick here works at my job, and for the last couple months, you know, as I've been doing the podcast, I've been seeing a van that had been converted that I knew somebody had lived in. Clearly, you had the solar panel and the vents and, you know, all the telltale signs of somebody living in it. And I always thought, like, man, that's really awesome. I got to figure out someday who. I even thought about the week or two before this all happened. I was like, okay, one of these days I'm going to write a note on a piece of paper and I'm going to stick it in the driver's side, like, you know, the window, just like, hey, I have a podcast interviewing people living vans. And so, yeah, you know, as thinking about that, and then kind of with a couple days ago, I don't remember what day it was, but another coworker of ours passed me in the hallway, and she started to bring up. She knew I had the podcast, so she started bringing up the fact that we, you know, oh, have you seen this? You know, when I realized that she was talking about the same van, I was very excited to talk to her, and within the first few seconds, I think my heart broke, kind of. So yeah, I would love to kind of just, you know, get into the story here.
Absolutely.
So you have a van that you self converted. What's her name?
Appa.
Appa. Okay.
Yeah, after it's kind of lame, but Avatar: The Last Airbender, big fluffy flying thing that carries everybody around. You know, so I thought it was kind of fitting. But yeah, it's a 2010 Ford Transit Connect. I think I bought it in LA at 58,000 miles with my sister. She drove me down there, and then I drove it back up. And that was either late 2017 or early 2018.
Okay, so you got into the van life pretty early, like.
Yeah, it was kind of so I was married for about 5 years. I was with a wonderful lady. I was with her for 7. But at the end of that, it was kind of you know, I mean, we were growing apart, and, you know, as it is, I mean, we're still friends now, you know, and in fact, we talk pretty often and we jam. That's how we got to know each other. I play guitar, she sings, you know, that kind of thing. And, but after that, I mean, we were spending like $1,500 a month on rent, not including utilities and all that kind of stuff. And my dad, many years before that, I think in 2015, I got into a car wreck, and that night, he was living in his SUV at the time, and shattered his back window, and so now his whole safe space is exposed, and, you know, that whole thing. And so he went down his own little path of discovering, you know, just patterns and, you know, routines of how to live mobily and nomadically and whatnot, and it really made an impression on me. So when push came to shove, and, you know, I no longer was with my wife, it was kind of an easy, of course, next step to, you know, hop into a van potential. And my cousin was already talking about the one you just met moments ago, and he hadn't quite bitten that off yet either, but it was something we were both talking about, something we were both really thinking about and researching and whatnot. And I mean, I wasn't financially in a position to, you know, go big and bad like I'd prefer, but the price was right. got the Ford Transit, and I've been living in that, exploring in that for the last like 3 years, and it's been just the absolute love of my life.
Man, okay, so you've been in it 3 years. Like that's that's pretty good amount of time for people that that do van life. Have you spent a lot of time like traveling around?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you've been pretty mobile. What are
Yeah.
some of the spots that you've really enjoyed?
Cambria is beautiful down south.
Okay.
Beautiful coastal region. Big fan of that. Obviously, we're from Placerville area, so
Okay.
Tahoe's just a hop, skip, and a jump away.
Yeah, beautiful
Desolation
up there.
Wilderness. It's just infinite. We kind of skipping ahead, but when Cameron and when I quit my my previous job, my previous casino that I was working at, I took a month off and decided, like, let's go explore a little bit. And we had a buddy that lived up in Washington, and so him and I both in my van just got in and just went for the month, and it was
Nice. See,
absolutely gorgeous.
That's the best part about that, living that mobile life and
Yeah.
living that, when you can have your bills be almost nothing, it gives
Yeah.
you so much freedom to be
Yeah.
able to, on a dime,
Yeah.
just say, hey, let's go do a month here. Let's go do a month there.
Yeah.
It's
And I'm not really used to that because I've only ever worked at casinos, and as far as hospitality business is concerned, it's probably the most corporate hospitality that you can be a part of. And so I still had a very corporate regiment of, 40 hours a week,
Yeah.
2 days off. So there wasn't really a lot of exploration potential, like time to take to go do that, So to have that month off after working there for 7 years, it was like a real like aha moment, you know what I mean? And it really gave me a flavor, a taste of something I'm very adamant about pursuing. And kind of like what you just said, when you're not spending $1,500 a month on rent, that $1,500 a month, goes to other things. But for me, it was a little bit more philosophical than that. Like when I buy something, when anybody buys something, when you spend time and convert it into this thing called money, and then you spend that on something, you want to get your time's worth out of it.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, that's just the natural flow. Same thing with your living environment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I'm spending $1,800 a month to be here, I'm going to be there and I'm going to get my money's worth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then it kind of locks you down and you don't feel inspired to go out and about because all my money's back there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So with that being removed,
Yeah.
the world
And
is
that's
your oyster kind of a thing.
And I love that. I love getting into like the people's why to that jump, because it is such a drastic jump. It's that thing that everybody's parents and uncles and cousins are like, what are you doing? Like, no, like that's dumb, you can't do that. And I love that the internet's made it these days at least more possible. It's like, no, mom, look at these 46 people that are doing it. It's
Easily,
possible. So
absolutely. I was really surprised. And again, like I'm a bartender, and so it's a very social occupation, and I have a very large, very supportive family, and I think I met one person that put their nose up to it.
Really,
out of the hundreds of people I interact with.
That's awesome.
I had an overwhelming amount of support and curiosity more than anything else.
Yeah.
And what was really interesting is because I worked at my casino. I mean, casinos, ours currently specifically tailors to a more wider age range.
Oh,
but
yeah, absolutely.
It's more of an older crowd, and so I thought I was definitely going to get a nose up, but I didn't realize I've been getting all the old hippies that are old.
Yeah.
Now, and I did that back in. I did that. And
that's kind of cool that maybe this last generation had kind of had their own little version of that. So a lot of that
all the Woodstockers,
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so it was. I don't know. This whole trip is. I mean, it's cliche to say, but what a long, strange trip it's been. It's been a constant refresher and reminder of just humanity and love and forgiveness, and it's just. I don't know. It's really deep.
You see something, and whether it's a van or a bus or an RV, but it's like a representative of people, and everyone, I've started to realize that every time I see one, like there's a story, like there's a person behind that with a story, with what brought them
making decisions in their life, making it happen.
That brought them. I mean, when I look at the decisions in mine and my wife's life that had brought us to kind of tiny living, alternative living, doing all kinds of different stuff now within that. It's like one weird happy accident after another,
Yeah.
or one, heartbreak after another that led to something positive. It's like you just never know where any of these things are going to go.
It's like life distilled, like, and it's a constant. It's just, I don't know, like in the 3 years that it's felt like a decade. It's felt like lifetimes. It's felt,
Really?
you know what I mean? Like, it's in the best of ways, and just how much raw experience and exposure has been crammed in a small amount of space, because I'm not just showing up, sitting on my couch and droning out on whatever it is that I used to drone out on. You know what I mean? So
it forces you. That's what I love, is anything that forces you to be outside more. And I mean, I love in the conversations I have with different people, you see that, like, the smaller the vehicle, the more it forces you outside, the more it forces you to do do these other things. And the more people downsize, the more I find that it's like each step down, you're like, I didn't need that stuff anyway. I didn't need that stuff. And you just feel more, more free.
Yeah. That was quite the transition, going from having 14 guitars, like, just having this, having that, going to, I mean, you've walked by the van. It's not the smallest thing, but it's, obviously,
but
it's not
you
the
get
biggest
one
thing.
guitar.
Yeah, exactly.
You get one, and you might sell it for a smaller version of
for
the
an
guitar.
ukulele. Yeah.
No, I completely get that.
No, you really find out, what's important to you.
Yeah, that's a great way of saying it. When you downsize like that, and you really see what you would keep in your life when it comes down to the final few things that you can keep, like, what are those things that, I love just, and I love the Marie Kondo thing, where it's like, what sparks joy? Like, I actually care about, like, when I look at my stuff, does the stuff I have spark joy? And if it's not, I don't really need it.
Yeah.
Like,
if it's weighing you down, if it's
know,
like, no, and that's a total mentality too. Is I remember thinking to myself, like, I this is what I identify myself with and as, it's like all these intricate little trinkets and whatnot. I mean, that's kind of like human nature. We find a feather on the ground, we put it in our hair. You know what I mean? And like that kind of idea, but extrapolate it out. I find this, that resonates with me. I'm going to add it to my toolbox, my showcase of who I am and what I want to show myself as. But this experience has, shown me and reminded me, and it's always kind of been there. So I guess I like to say, remind me of, you are your showcase. You know what I mean? And so that's been once that mentality kind of switched in, it's just been an absolute pleasure ride ever since. Like, I can't even describe. I mean, because you know what I mean? But like, just a lot of love.
That's amazing. I mean, I guess we've been kind of teasing at it for long enough. Let's kind of get into the heart of it with. So, what happened with your van? And
well, I guess I'll start prospectively of the incident, and then we'll kind of backtrack and then forward track.
Sounds good.
So it's gonna be a bomb for a few people, but I've been kind of seeing a girl, and she's really cool. I really like her a lot. She's really neat, but she lives in Sacramento, and I've been visiting her a couple of times, and since last Thursday night, decided to go over, see her and spend time with her, and it was probably like 1 a.m, something like that. I'm starting to pass out, and that night was the last night that my beautiful boss, I don't want to say his name necessarily just for all that reason, but he was one of the most composed human beings I think I've ever met in my life, one of the most inspiring individuals I've ever been in the presence of. And it was his last night, so I was emotional already.
Oh, man.
I mean, like, the whole drive from work to there, which is like 40 minutes or so, 35 minutes, I'm just blasting Foxy Shazam's album, just like fucking belting it. It's an emotional album, and I'm just fucking crying, like it was, he meant a lot to me. You know what I mean? And so the only reason I say that is because to describe the emotional drained.
So already that night you were already about as low as you go.
Yeah. And I remember specifically saying, God, how can it get worse? I know. The previous week, so
famous last words.
2 weeks prior to that, little jump back, I remember talking to my dad. I had this like hard conversation I was gonna have with some people, and and it's with people I love, and I'm thinking like, man, on the other side of this, you know, I remember telling him this. I'm like, man, it's gonna be tough, but on the other side of this, you know, it's gonna be nice to be able to breathe for a little bit. It's gonna be nice to breathe easy for just a little bit. Not
pull that thing right up in front of your face there too, just to make sure.
Not 40 minutes later. Not 40 minutes later after that conversation, my boss told me to put in his 2 weeks. So it was just like, this domino effect. So it's the night of his 2 week, and he's leaving. It's emotional. Driving over there, hanging out with her. She's being super, super kind, just very compassionate, very loving, and I'm posting pictures on Instagram. You know, just kind of like, cause you know I use Instagram as like my online photo library and catalog, whatever, photo album. And I'm posting pictures with about him, and just, you know, like, salute, love you, you know, till next time, kind of a thing. And I get this phone call from a number I don't know, and I'm like, I'm not answering that. You know, I'm in this generation. I'm not answering that.
Yeah.
You text me or leave a voicemail if it's really important. Exactly. And so I wait for it, because iPhone doesn't let you cancel out and wait for it. All right, it's gone. Perfect. So I go back on Instagram and doing my thing, waiting for that little voicemail thing to pop up. It pops up. I click on it, and it says, I'm going to, you know, condense it, but it goes essentially, hey, Nick, this is Matt from the fire department. Just want to let you know that your van is on fire. Your vehicle's on fire. We've had to, if you don't answer, we're going to have to break a window to get inside to put it out. So please come out and, you know, do that. And I just sorry, it's a little new. This just wave of like just the most horrible feeling you can imagine just swept over me. And I just bounced out of bed. I just threw some pants on. I'm not wearing shoes. I'm not wearing a shirt. I'm not even sure if my fly was zipped up. And I just started sprinting outside. And obviously she's like, what the heck's going on? Yeah. And I call the number back as I'm getting dressed, and he goes, hey, Nick, do you know where your vehicle is? I was like, yeah, it's in Sacramento. He goes, okay, what street? I was like, you know, F Street, whatever.
Yeah. And how close are you to it at this point? Like right outside, or usually, are you like down the street?
So usually that's the last few times I've parked at her place, it's around the block, This was at the bottom of her stoop.
Okay.
So, I mean, you sneeze and you're touching.
Yeah.
And so I call him. He's like, well, we're going to need you to come outside, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, absolutely. So I start sprinting, open the door. It's like 1 a.m. and it's cold. I've got no shoes on. I've got no shirt on. And you see the scene, and it was so uncomfortable. There's like 2 fire engines, more than a dozen firefighters, and all of my stuff is just all over the street, all over the sidewalk, and it's just scorched.
So at this point, had they already been?
They already put out the fire.
They had already been in, put out the fire. Okay, all that kind of stuff.
I think it took a minute for my voicemail to kind of finally click in and register.
Okay,
It's a few minutes, like 5-6 minutes. And
yeah, they're not gonna wait for that. No, You probably got 30 seconds before they're smashing a window.
Exactly. So I didn't necessarily see any flame, which almost felt a little robbed of, you know. So like
you're like, if it's at least gonna be on fire, I want to see this thing scorching.
Exactly. Yeah. It was a weird feeling to have in that particular moment, but I definitely remember having that feeling like, well, damn, if you're going to do this, at least let me see it, you know. And
1 second, just because there's this stuff that I've been seeing recently, that it's these balls that are like this big that people put somewhere in their van you can do, or whatever RV, and if there's a fire, they like explode and they stop it. And I've started to see a few channels that I watch or I've interviewed, and I'm like, people need to get that, like, because that one little thing I would have saved your van. And I know, and I'm like, I'll put a link below what they're called. But they're a ball like this big. They look like a decoration. They don't even look like they would be a fire thing, and they just explode if there's a fire. You put it by your propane or by your thing.
That would have been so nice. No, going forward, going forward, that is a definite.
Yeah, we're gonna get you one of those.
Yeah, link in the bottom. But wow, that would have been nice. But so I got this electric unicycle, and it's a cool little thing. You know, it's got lithium batteries in it. So they're known under stress to kind of blow up.
Okay.
So that's what my first thought. That's what that is.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my God. Like those don't go out. You've got to wait for those to burn out. And so I was thinking, this is what this is. Oh my Lord, la 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 la. I also have a solar generator in the back. That's also a lithium battery.
Yeah.
So
there's a few different things right away that it could have been that it could have caused.
And those are not. First of all, they're expensive and they're not forgiving with the fire that they produce. So my mind's just racing, and I'm walking down the stoops, and you just see all of my stuff torn out, charred everywhere. It's broken glass everywhere because they had to like break a window to get in, and you can just see all the firefighters kind of looking at me and trying to read me and see how I'm going to react to it,
Yeah.
And that was a weird experience. And I wasn't, the closer I got to the vehicle, it was just the more not real it was. And the way the vehicle was parked, I'm approaching from the passenger side, and they broke in the window on the driver's side.
Oh.
So it's kind of this, as I go around the vehicle to discover, it's like this grand reveal.
Oh,
It wasn't just this boom right there and I got it over with the Band-Aid off. It was this like slow Jurassic Park turnaround with the dinosaur. You know what I mean? And I get around, and the chief comes over and he starts talking to me, and he goes, listen, I'm sorry, man, we had to break a window, just this, that, and the other thing. We want to get it out as soon as possible. And I was just obviously not saying anything because I'm in shock. And I'm kind of just, I don't know. I have a weird way of dealing with things. I don't know. I found comedy.
I was going to say, I would have laughed. I actually laugh. Yeah, I laugh. I awkwardly laugh in weird and comfortable situations. And I don't like it, but it's the only way I can, yeah. I
was laughing maniacally.
Yeah, when I snapped my arm in half, I came running over to my dad laughing in a weird way because, like, that was the only emotion So I understand
you can deal with it,
and thinking how they're reacting to you, depending on your reaction, that's got to feel very uncomfortable. I can't even imagine.
And so they're watching me just laugh. They're like, "Oh, this boy just snapped," and again, and right then when I turned around and I'm viewing all of this, they opened the door for me, and the scene was just unreal. Because and a little backtrack. The van, I mean, obviously it's my home, it's my safe space. It's my Millennium Falcon. It's my, you know what I mean? It's my little spaceship. And like, that's, when the driver's side was opened, it's my cockpit. That's like, where you've got your dice in the mirror and, your little baby Buddha in the corner. Like it was the most bizarre viewing. I have this, in this particular model, you've got like a plastic loft that I used to put put some knickknacks up there, but I also put my front windshield.
The covers?
Covers. I put that up there. And that whole area was melted down.
That was the first scene I saw of the van, and because and we'll put the video in this. It was just like horrified me. Just the melting of plastic and things just dripping was. You just knew real. From that what everything like that was like. Oh gosh.
Yeah, it was. I'm laughing now, but I'm hurting inside.
Yeah.
But it was the most like. It wasn't like I remember once flipping my car, and there's this half a moment where you're like, I might be able to push this over and just drive it away. But when you saw all that, just that damage, it was like, nope.
Like every part of the inside was gone.
And again, it's 1 a.m. I'm already emotional from my boss leaving. It was already. I was like, that's why I started laughing, because I'm like, it's so. And in that conversation I had with my dad the 2 weeks before, like I'm just can't wait to breathe. It's gonna be so nice to breathe. But things come in threes, and I mean, knock on some wood.
Yeah,
but
fake wood behind you there.
But so for that, it was just kind of like, okay, universe. You know what I mean? Like I immediately stepped into that, and it's like, this is so poetic. It's so new. I'm a big preacher, and like, ask anybody in my family, especially anybody younger than me in my family, I'm always preaching having a savings, having means to be able to pick yourself up, because life always finds a way to screw you over. Life always finds a way to take your money. And the most unique.
I've never heard somebody say it like that. Life always finds a way to take your money. That is.
And it's like one of my catchphrases.
That is. remarkably true. Like, oh my goodness.
And from what you were describing for me earlier, I mean, you kind of understand a little bit
Yes.
of that, you know what I mean? And so it always, and it'll do it once, and you're like, okay, I'll handle that because I did handle that, and I'm gonna add those things into my mental toolbox, and I'll be prepared for that in the future.
Yeah.
And then the next one is like, it's just a right hook, and you're just
Yeah.
not expecting it. And it's always poetic and new and abstract and different. And the writers of this show are doing a great job of keeping it interesting.
Oh, man, sometimes.
So that's exactly where my mind went right off the bat. So I'm just cracking up because like I'm still dealing with the boss thing, and which is going to throw my whole work life into turbulence. And then here is my home life literally going up in flames. Luckily, my love life is starting to look a little on the bright side.
Yeah.
You know, so you can't have it all. I was
Yeah,
talking to
yeah.
my dad. It's like there's this karmic balance, you know,
Yeah.
and you got to work for it. That's basically the lesson of the day. But yeah, so I just, you know, they're all just looking at me, and they're like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't even know what to do. They're like, okay, well.
I imagine they're going to know more what happens in this situation.
They started asking me like, well, it seems like the fire started in this particular area of the vehicle, and my heart sank because, okay, so, and some more backtracking.
Yeah.
And,
It's the best way to tell a story.
4 weeks ago or a month before, as soon as the weather started getting a little better, I was like, all right, because when I first got this van, right, I lived in it super bare bones for quite a while, like a year and a half almost. I lived in it I had my air mattress. I had those little plastic shelves that you get from Walmart.
Yeah.
I had everything in different tubs. It was all see-through, so I
Okay.
knew what it was. You know, I had like my kitchen tote with my Instapot and my, you know, all my spices, la 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 la, and I had all my clothes in this tub and all my socks in a different tub and underwear in a different tub, la 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 la. So I had, you know, and as you grow into it, I didn't start building right off the bat because I didn't know how I wanted it set up. And I feel like if I kept it a little bit more modular, I'd be able to find those natural patterns that I find myself getting into, and then kind of go and then start building off those patterns that I, you know, naturally organically found
as you
for
build it
myself.
out. Okay.
And then so when I finally did start building it out, I was at my casino, and I stayed in my hometown because I had a really good job. I was making very decent amount of money, and I had such a large community that everyone's offering for me to stay there. Everyone's offering me to, you know, take a shower here. Everyone's offering me la 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 la. And so it was amazing to have that support and that love. And so I stayed. And so I finally start doing the build at my aunt and uncle's house, and I get right up to the electrical system, and that's where I'm like, I don't know what's going on, you know. And then right then, my boss at the time, who was just a different boss than the one that I previously talked about, also had the same name, but absolutely amazing human being. Not anywhere what I experienced previously. Like it was the department that I was in was just this like horrendous place for morality, and he comes in as like a white knight in shining armor, and we really hit it off, and we're just like good friends. And he got this job opportunity where we are now.
Yeah. Okay.
And he was like, we just had like a quarterly meeting, and he, you know, people are, you know, complaining about this and that. And it's like, guys, you don't understand the culture and the political atmosphere that this place was before this gentleman came in. You're complaining about rice on the floor when
Gotcha. Okay.
we didn't have anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If anyone's ever been in like a terrible department, before, it's like,
you know what I mean?
How much one person can make.
Exactly. And he led us all. And so I went into that meeting like, listen, y'all are tripping. Just appreciate what you have because it could be so much worse. And so, you know, I really went up to bat for him. And then after that, he brings me into his office, and I'm like, oh, crap, what did I say something I wasn't supposed to say, la la la. And he, it was super mafia because our supervisor was there, love her to death, and she's kind of sitting behind him all like, you know, and I'm like, I don't know how to read the situation. And he goes, so you live in your van, right? And I go, I know he knows. I was like, yeah, I do. He goes, okay. So that means you can kind of pick up and live anywhere, right? And I was like, well, that's the idea.
Okay.
You know what I mean? He goes, do you want to come with me to this new place?
Okay.
And I was like,
so that's how you ended up.
Yeah. So
okay.
he had an in. He was already, you know, getting hired. And I was like, because I had worked at this previous place for like 7 years.
Yeah.
7, 8 years. It was my first job when I was 21. At the time, I think I was like 28 or something, or 27. And so it was a big question to ask me.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it was like
to
a
leave
soup uproot,
something.
you know, but like I live in a van.
Yeah.
My roots, other than my community, are very minimal. I don't have a lease that I'm worried about.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so at first it was like kind of a no. Let me get back to you.
Yeah.
And then I got online, looked up, you know, what are housing, because my van's not ready. It's not ready to be a full time.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
okay.
And I'm in the middle of the build. Still haven't even gotten the electrical done. I've got like my wood frame for my bed, this that kind of stuff. So I got like the bare essentials without going into the luxury realm. And so I got online, I looked around, and you know, found this place. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, I hit her up before I even had the interview, and then got into the interview, killed it. I was the only person in 30,000 people that brought a ukulele to their interview. And
That's awesome.
I don't know if you were there were you there at the?
I wasn't at the one. I had at a previous casino that I had worked at. They had something similar where I actually brought an entire 88 key piano and set up and played that for them. So I got that job. But that's awesome.
Oh man, you were cut from the same cloth,
yeah,
dude. I love it. Yeah. So it was, it was like, say something nice about yourself. Your name, favorite artist, and 10 seconds entertainment. Go. And that was my 10 seconds entertainment. And got the job, and then so I quit the previous job. There was that month that I was describing to you earlier when
we guys
visited some friends, and then landed here, and it's when did we start, like October, so the weather's starting to get a little bit more
I think it was October 2019.
Starting to get cold, and cold and busy, because opening that place was chaos. It was organized chaos. It was amazing. I loved it. I don't regret that at all.
I would do that over and over again. I actually
like
like the process of going through and all the procedures that
if they let me, I would love to do that for them. You know what I mean? Especially with the lifestyle that I
you got the for sure have the ability to kind of consistently move.
But so that all being said, I was in the middle of my build, and life just keeps happening, right? So I uproot, go to a new area, open this casino. It's just like they make you feel like we're changing the world, kind of a thing. It was like we drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. And then I met a girl, and a lot of people don't know this because I try to keep my my personal life a little bit personal after my marriage. I have my reasons, but she was amazing. She had a 1-year-old, and that was one of the most beautiful experiences in my life, integrating with that and learning with that and just being with her and that. And then COVID happened, and then we were kind of quarantined together, which I think was a little unfair of the universe to do, because it was kind of like magnesium. It burned bright, but it burned quick.
Okay.
And again, grew apart, no hard feelings. Yeah. Especially, we just talked recently, and we have, we got the closure that we needed.
That's good. That closure.
But yeah, the COVID, good. I mean, that was like 3 lifetimes. It just felt that small time that we were closed.
It's been a long since the beginning of this. It's been the longest period of time in my life.
It feels like a decade for me.
Yeah,
like, I feel like 3 different people. But yeah, so that happened. So again, not getting anything done on the van, blah, 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 blah. Because life just keeps happening. Life keeps happening. And then after her, it was, the grand reopening, which was just a whole nother thing. I mean, we were like the first or second casino on the West Coast to reopen. Yeah. The first of our kind, of our company, anywhere to reopen in the world.
Anywhere around.
And there's like 280 of them around the world. And
I did not know that.
Yeah, I mean, casino-wise, I think there's like 30-something.
Yeah, but we're one of the...
Yeah, but as far as like the brand name, there's like 280 around the world. And that was the whole idea for me personally, and kind of skip subjects for a second, to go to this company, because apparently 6 months with it.
Exactly.
You go anywhere in the world.
I remember thinking the same thing, that like, man, there's a lot. I look at, down the hall when you see all the different pictures of the different ones. I'm like, I think I'm going to go work at that one day.
I know, right?
And maybe this one over here.
Ooh! And, so, that was the clear ambition path to hit that up. But again, so life just keeps happening. We do our opening, met a girl, COVID, grand reopening, well into summer, and it's just busy until like this most recent holidays. It kind of started tapering back down again, but even then it's pretty steady. And with turnover rates and just staffing, it's kind of a skeleton crew. So even if it's not busy, it's busy.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so I just haven't had any time to really get back to the build. So about 4 weeks ago, I finally was like,
Got some space, got some
it's time. It's time. So I bought this backup camera because my van's got these little sensors that, you know, go beep, 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 depending on how close proximity you get to whatever you're backing into. And I've got the window covers, so I never see out the back anyway. So I was like, I would really like a backup camera. And I know the installations are nuts, so I started to at least run the cabling myself, ran it through the side or up on the loft, ran the cable that went to the monitor that kind of snuck behind that plastic loft thing that I was talking about, and it kind of clips onto the rearview mirror, and then brought the cable back down the side column down into the fuse box, brought it all the way back down the door, could not get it through the grommet, so, you know, speed bump number 1, and then I don't know what the fuse box is doing, so speed bump number 2, I'll let somebody else do that.
Okay.
I'm spent,
the technical spot.
Yeah, I just, you know, your time is money.
Yeah.
And after a certain amount of, you know, hours of frustration, I'm not going to bother with
Oh, I
that.
know, because I decided to change the oil on my truck the other day for the first time by myself, because who knew that every place in town is closed on Sundays? And then it ends up costing me like twice as much. You have to, you know, just deal with a nightmare. But I mean, I guess I learned how to do it, so now I'll know how to do it from now on.
And on that, that's what I love about this lifestyle. Like, and that's why and a lot of people are like, well, why don't you just buy an RV? It's like, well, because then I don't get to involve myself. I don't get to invest myself. I don't get to learn. I don't get to grow. And that's kind of, I mean,
the whole point.
That's kind of the whole point. You know, like I've never really held a power tool in my life other than a power drill, but like a jigsaw, a sawzall saw, a circular saw. What's going on here? But, you know, I got exposure to all of that because of the van. You know what I mean? And like, so anyway, that's beautiful. I love that aspect of this lifestyle. But yeah, so I ran those cables and then called a guy, and he's like, yeah, I've got my first availability is like a month out. I was like, well, I already ran the cables. He's like, oh, dope. Okay, well, I can squeeze you in earlier.
Okay, because it's such a smaller.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was last Tuesday.
Okay.
And loved it. The camera was amazing.
So you had it for
3 days.
3 days.
And he was telling me, so this particular camera had 2 video sends. Had video 1, which was linked into reverse only in engage.
Okay.
And then video 2 was on all the time. And I was like, oh, well, video 2 sounds pretty cool. So when I'm driving, I can see, you know, behind me.
Yeah, you just use it as the rear view camera.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I was like, fucking video number 2 went on with my life. So now we jump to the cataclysmic event, and they're asking me what was right here.
Yeah.
And it was the rear view camera that I just installed like 2-3 days prior.
Gosh. And I imagine it hit you right away. There's
right
no
in the chest, dude. Right in the chest. And it was one of those, like, I don't know if you've ever seen Galaxy Quest.
I know I have. Is it Tim Allen?
Tim Allen.
Yeah.
And there's that omega-13 molecular button, and it takes you back 13 seconds.
Okay, yeah, I vaguely remember that.
You know, and I've that's something that's always like, whenever something like this happens, it's like, God, can I hit that? Just bring me back a week, and I'll make different decisions.
When I was going through like that video, looking at, I swear I was thinking in my head about like every single socket in this place. Like, did I get that thing? Like, should I check it? Like, should I take all these off and double check that these are all tight and aren't gonna, like, it just in my head, like I'm like visualizing everything I could have screwed up and oh man.
And I've had so many people express that, and what I keep saying is, a smart man learns from his mistakes.
Yeah.
A wise man learns from others. So please learn from my mistakes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a couple of people have told me, oh, well, you know, go and sue them. But first of all, karmically, I don't feel right about doing that.
I can understand the situation with that.
And especially considering I took half the project on myself.
Yeah.
So I hold a lot of the responsibility.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I can't even begin to start pointing fingers elsewhere. That's just not the right thing to do. You know what I mean? This guy was helping me out, and like, yeah, I mean, it's a business, but like, it's just not what I'm about. Yeah, so I mean, it just hit me like a bag of bricks. Like, that's what undid me. That was my Achilles heel.
Yeah.
After all I've been through with this, that's what got me, and that's what ended the story.
Yeah, that's what kind of brought us to to the point that we're at with. So what's the state of the van? I mean, the van is obviously like, were you able to put it somewhere safe?
Yeah.
Is it one of those things? Are you gonna just
it's up at a because so my cousin and I, we rented a pool house, and there's like 4 of us there. We're all doing the van life thing.
Okay.
So we all kind of share this room. We all have our vans, and then we have like a common space.
That's cool.
And
actually, that's like almost like your own little maker space kind of.
Yeah. It's a beautiful little kitchen. We've all got Instapots and air fryers.
Instapots are life, right?
Like,
yes.
I better be sponsored by them one day.
Yeah, I know.
Like I am such a promoter of the Instapot, but yeah. So it's up there, and which was a $400 tow from Sacramento to there.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I'll get to that in a moment. But so it's safe. It's just completely scorched, and this happened on like a Tuesday of my work week, right? I mean, it happened on a Thursday night, but like if you
if you're talking about
and so I just haven't had time to even really investigate terribly
to go all
and really, and obviously it's like this horrendous Band-Aid that I'm just afraid to look at.
Yeah, I can imagine it's gonna be.
But you saw enough of it on the street, and when I piled it in that night, and so anyway, so the fire department was like, all right, well, good luck.
Yeah,
we got there's not much we can do. So then the girl finally came out, and she's tripping out. She's tripping out, and I mean not like in a frantic way, but like oh my god, and I'm just sitting here laughing like of course, but I can't believe this, and la 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 la, and and we're still like really new into our seeing one another, and definitely I felt at the time too new to drop this baggage bomb on her, you know what I mean? Like, hey, by the way, I'm going through something really traumatic right now.
Yeah.
But she was so supportive. I asked her, I was like, hey, I'd hate to ask you this, but can I, because I've got a busted window, I can't keep anything valuable in it in sack overnight when it looks
most definitely not.
You know what I mean? And so I just grabbed whatever I could that, still looked salvageable. The unicycle just, oh man, so much of it was fried, but I mean, it turned on. So those things, once they're exposed to a lot of heat and a lot of, that they get compromised. So I'm really hesitant to really utilize that.
That one would be anything with like a lithium-ion battery would be very.
My solar generator, same thing. I'm a little iffy. I haven't turned that one on yet. Luckily my laptop was on the floor, and smoke heat rises, so that was fine. But smoke heat rises and then melted everything I had on the roof, and so all of this plastic is just, my bedding is like smoke induced. It's scorched. All of my clothes underneath scorched. My air mattress popped from all the hot magma plastic.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, luckily the wood frame I covered in linseed oil.
Okay.
Which I don't know if that was going to be a flammable issue. That's still intact, so that's kind of nice. I still have the bed frame, but God, you spend 30 seconds in there and you want to throw up from the amount of burnt plastic.
Like, you would have to. I mean, I don't know what you could do. Like, do you even know if the van part itself is even drivable? Like, did it go ruin anything?
Get into that.
Okay.
Get into that. That was the next morning I discovered that. Luckily, so that my guitar made it, surprisingly, which was weird because I strap it to the roof, and it's right next to the fan. The fan was annihilated. The fan, like all the hot smoke, the Max Air fans, and we're all familiar with those. And then
the guitar right next to it.
Next to it. It made no sense. Like, and it's a classical string, plastic.
Yeah.
And I was blown away. It was because it's very important to me. And,
I can imagine.
And so it was just one of those like little silver lining things, you know what I mean? Like, out of anything in the van, that was
that was the one thing,
like,
okay.
And it was, so that was like, it was just really beautiful. And so I pile it all in her house. I locked the car as well as I can, and I have a couple of those front window covers, and I put it up against the window to hope that like nobody's paying attention. They just see the shininess and they keep walking. And we pile it all in her house, and it's just, I feel so bad because she's got such a vibe, like sage and incense, and I just roll in all this burnt plastic, and it just adds to the ambiance, and like I just felt so bad. And she's just being the most kind, understanding, compassionate individual at the time. I mean still, but like it was just exactly
what you needed at
what
that
I
moment,
needed.
yeah.
And I was like, I'm not even dealing with this right now. Like I'm gonna deal with this in the morning.
Yeah.
And she had work in the morning. And I remember specifically telling her like, hey, do you mind if I come, see you tonight? I won't bug you. I swear. I'll let you go to work. And I won't bug you.
Oh my God.
Being the quotation that kept ringing in my ear.
Yeah.
And it's 2-3 in the morning, and she has work at she's got to be up at 6. And so I'm
Gosh,
just
yeah,
like,
that's
I'm
such
sorry.
a difficult, position to be in.
And she's such a trooper. But anyway, so the next morning comes, she's off, and I wake up at like 9-10, just like, ugh, was that a dream? I really hope that was a dream, and
yeah, man, that's weird. Actually, yeah. Then the morning after anything like that thought, there's almost always that first thought for a second. Like for one split second, you have hope. Like I've felt that moments in my life before. You wake up and you're like, and then no, it's actually.
and then in the reverse, you have a horrible dream and you'll wake up like, oh my, thank God that was a dream.
Yeah, and luckily in life you get more of those. You get more of the ones where whatever happened in the dream wasn't real. But a few times in life you have it the other way.
Reverse, and it was not the case. So it's just like I didn't know how to begin. Called my insurance, obviously, and again, a smart man learns from his mistakes. A wise man learns from others. I didn't, and it didn't cover anything. Yeah. So I'm just
and for people, there's like multiple different versions of of types of policies. Like if you live in one and drive, like try to get that if you absolutely can. I mean, I know they're more expensive, things like that, but like you see in those moments, like they will protect your laptops and your guitars.
Mm-hmm.
Like, most of the time, a lot of that stuff won't get covered.
Yeah.
So yeah, it pays.
And here exactly. And here's the thing. I mean, we're all kind of doing this for our own reasons. One of the great benefits is the money you save, right? And again, so me going forward, I'm no longer paying $1,500 in rent. I should be able to afford, the coverage that will cover me for this kind of situation.
Exactly.
So going forward, that's an of course.
Yeah.
That is such an of course.
Yeah, those are some of those like trade-offs where it's like I get if you put them on paper, you'd be like, oh yeah, of course I have to have this $180 policy for my house that insures it when I'm saving this much. Like sometimes just seeing it on paper makes it
or living
real.
Through it and
or,
the hard way.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so and that day was just such a recovery day. Like I had to work at 3:30, so I didn't really have time to like emotionally deal with this, and I still haven't really emotionally dealt with it.
Oh yeah.
Today later today, I'm going back up there, and I'm putting the gloves on and
okay. Yeah, so you're gonna be able to dig into that pain.
Yeah.
In some ways, and
just kind of look at it in the face and deal with it. But I feel like I'm a little bit more prepared than I was the night that it happened or the day after it happened. I've been able to talk to people and we'll get to that in a moment, but like a lot of support that I was not expecting. But yeah, so that all happened, and so it's now Friday, and we're doing this the following Tuesday. So this is like less than a week later. Yeah. And so I get a hold, and they're like, all right, well, with your coverage, you do get like 20 free miles, and then,
for the tow.
And it's a 50-mile trip from where I was to Marysville. And so there's 30 miles on the other side of that. And the insurance lady was just an absolute sweetheart. She was just super understanding and compassionate to what I was going through. And I don't remember her name. I wish I did. I'm horrible with names, and it's funny being a bartender doing that. But I'll know your drink order till the day I die.
But the name is hard.
Yeah. And she's like calling different providers, and they find this one. And it's like the only one that's willing to make that drive is $12 an extra mile. So $12 for 30 miles.
They add up so fast.
It was like $400 at the end of it. And the guy that came out, super cool dude, Chris, and his son Christopher. He had his son in his car, because schools aren't open. And,
oh, okay.
And just a couple of just dudes. I love them. They were super neat, and like, so we're getting we're hooking it up, and he's like, all right, can you put it in park? And I didn't even think of that. Or can you put it in neutral? I didn't even think of that. So I go over to the car, and I look down, and everything, the entire up part upper part of the vehicle has melted
Yeah.
into the lower part.
Down.
And it's literally draping like stalactites. You know what I mean? And I look at the shifter, and it's like a pool of lava or magma had frozen. Like,
So,
you know,
like,
like the little
yeah.
light that you click on and off.
So
at the
how are
head?
you ever going to be able to?
You can't.
Oh my goodness.
You
Yeah.
can't. There's so much melted and plastic that had hardened over that. You can't even see like the drive, park, neutral, drive
Yeah.
2, drive 3. No, like you can't. I put the key in, pushed on the gas pedal, and they cut the battery last night, which the firefighters, which is super smart. But put the key in, you know, turn it. Obviously, it's not going to do much, but put the foot on the brake, and you can't. I mean, Chris is a big dude. And he couldn't even make it budge.
Oh,
so it's like, oh, like I thought maybe I might be able to get like a Sawzall in there and hack some stuff off and just kind of look through all the ruggage, you know. Not the case.
Man.
Like I can't even shift the vehicle. So, so we put these little things underneath, and that like knocked under the like scrapers or whatever underneath the front tires, so he could drag the van.
Yeah,
I
imagine. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that's hard. If it's not the right type of tow truck, if you can't get in a neutral, it becomes
it was
big
a whole thing,
situation.
Whole thing, and we're at like the king slope of the street. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Sacramento obviously is terrible for all these kinds of things.
Yeah, dude. So it was an ordeal. Anyway, we get on the road. We're driving down, and he drops me off, and luckily my cousin was at the house and received me, and I literally got there, had 20 minutes, I got ready, and I went to work. Dang. And as a bartender, especially in a casino, you're the good time guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How do you be the good time guy when you're like, let me tell you my story and problems today?
Yeah, you know, you're the therapist today, you know, and that's always been kind of like, you know, like when I was dealing with things with, you know, any relationship I've ever been in or dealing with anything in life, you got to go to work and be perky and and, you know, make the night all about the guests and make sure their experience is whatever. And, you know, I take my job seriously, and I want to take that seriously. And it's something I am very passionate about, but it's always hard. It's always challenging to like have that duality of yourself. You know what I mean? And like I told you earlier, I was in drama in high school, and so it really feels like putting on a show a lot of the times. You know what I mean? You enter in this character, and the beauty that I've found with my character that I put on is, you know, there's this weird blend of myself and what I want to be, and bartending has been one of the most spiritually beautiful things in my life because it's really gotten me out of my shell because I was a really shy guy when I was younger.
No kidding,
dude. I wouldn't make eye contact. Like I was a very shy dude, and so I'm kind of trained for this, you know, and I go in and didn't do the best job, but people are like, hey, how you doing tonight? Good to see you. And they're like, well, how are you doing? And I'm just like, you know, like, and, you know, and they see right through me. All my regulars saw right through it.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine,
you know?
the regulars
and I was like,
you're not going to get that past them.
No. And I'm just like, okay, well, here it is. And so start telling them and just, you know, just seeing everybody's eyes just go through what I went through. But it was just bizarre feeling their feelings in such a heightened, potent way I wasn't expecting. You know, I mean, obviously it's terrible, but like, I mean, people were crying for me. And previous night, I didn't know if I should post it, but I was like, this is, you know, I've been posting the whole van's life. And I want
to not post that would just be wrong. Like,
right? And I don't want, it's not an attention thing. It's for me 5 years down the road when I want to go through this again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And for my loved ones and my family and my friends that, you know, care about me and they're always curious what I'm doing. It was, you know, it's just to catalog the experience. And I was posting, you know, my boss is leaving. This sucks.
Yeah.
And then like
to see the next like
20 minutes, 30, 40 minutes later, you know, well, my night just got a lot more interesting. And it's that melted scene. And my boss, the one that brought me from the previous casino to the next casino, not the one that left, he eventually reached out, and love him. But the previous one reached out and was like, dude, I am so sorry. You need to make a GoFundMe.
Yeah.
And I was immediately against the idea. Not against, but like, I don't know. How to feel about that.
It seemed like it took a few of us to convince you needed to do this.
It took like 12.
Yeah.
But after the 12th one, I was like, okay, like, I mean, I'm not, you can't put expectations out in that. But anyway, so I eventually made one. But that was that night he told me, and so I worked through Friday, talked to everybody, and everyone's, again, I talked to our coworker that made our connection, and I was talking to all my regulars, and, I just got this overwhelming, just like passion and support. And I was just, I was handling it pretty well. And that was Friday. And I went home and went to my buddy's house because he lives right around the corner, and he absolutely blessed me with his kindness, and he's just been kind to me since we opened, because he was our bar back, and we just grew a really strong friendship, and it didn't stop, like he was just immediately there for me.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And he happened to actually be out of town, so I had his keys to get into his house, so I was able to stay there. It's like 5 minutes away. It's actually down the street from here.
Oh, nice.
So I, and she came with me, because she's the girl.
Yeah.
And she obviously is aware that, I'm in this state, and so she wants to be there to support me. So we spent time together, and she drove me to work the next morning. And as I'm getting ready for work, I turn on the funk, and because, to me, funk is just such a lifestyle. It's not just a genre of music.
Okay.
It's a way of life. It's a way of being. It's a way of seeing everything and how you interact with life. It's like the most, I don't know, Buddhist vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like absolutely delicious, and not taking things too seriously, but, appreciating and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, this is, if ever, play
the time for it.
I was like, hey Siri, play Funky's Funky playlist on shuffle. Like, let's go. And Bad Mama Jamma came on, and I'm just gigging, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I was opposed to the GoFundMe. Not opposed, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't like asking for help. And I'm one of those people that'll drown before I ask for help.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of people say they were going to make it for me. And then I felt guilty. And I was like, okay, well, I'll make it, because I don't want you to have to do that for me. So I made it. I kind of wrote out my little speech bit, whatever. And I have savings, like I told you earlier, like you need to have savings.
Yeah.
Because life's going to find a way to do this.
And now I wanted to get into that as well, because you had already this was not just like savings for nothing. Like you were already planning, right? Like your next one.
Oh, yeah. Right? Oh, yeah.
And so it's, so I mean, it's like, I thought that was interesting. You were already in this process and idea of like what you're going to do next.
Yeah.
And,
well, I bought the Ford Transit in a, like, let's see if this is right.
Yeah.
The price
the next
was
step
right.
up is
it's a commitment.
Yeah, it's definitely, that's where you get into more of a commitment for sure.
It's like $30,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas my van, I think I bought for 10. Just put actual math and life out there for other people. But spent about $10,000 on it, and 58,000 miles. I got a screaming deal, especially for how old the vehicle is, the size of the vehicle, and what I wanted to use the vehicle for. It was just fantastic. But man, living in it for 3 years, you want to stand up.
Yeah.
It's this weird awkward height, because you saw my cousin's van. He's got a Sienna, and it's shorter, but it's wider. So there's like, I'd almost take that now that I've lived through this particular one.
Because if you can't stand up, you'd rather almost just have
a wider space.
Okay.
So live and learn.
Yeah.
And so almost pretty much immediately afterwards, that's why I'm glad I didn't start the build necessarily right out the gate. I kind of discovered, I'm definitely, and a year and a half, 2 years, now 3 years into it, I'm still addicted to the lifestyle. And, and it's not even like it's an addiction. It's, I cannot see myself in a brick and mortar for as far as I can see.
It's okay.
You know what I mean? Because home ownership is a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't think about that. We get lost in this paradigm of this is what you're supposed to do. This is what you're supposed to do.
It's such a lock to an area. It's such a lock to so many different things.
And the amount of, I was listening to one of your other podcasts, the one that you told me to listen to with the schoolie, and they were saying, with a smaller environment, it takes a little bit more planning, and cleaning is you got to stay on top of it, because it can get dirty real quick. In a house, you can just leave that pile of laundry in the corner for however long, or you know what I mean? So there's a lot of stuff that you got to really hyper focus on. And I feel like I really got very proficient with my routines in this one, with my laundry, how I keep that, folding dirty clothes, which is a big thing. You know, those big Ziploc vacuum seal bags, so it doesn't like stink up the rest.
Okay.
Of it. You know, like
oh,
you
that's
really.
a good little tip. Yeah.
Oh, I love that, and they're super cheap. You can get them at Walmart.
Oh.
Highly recommend that. And then just put it like in a pillowcase so it's not visually,
Okay, yeah,
disturbing and all that kind of stuff. But already knew very short into it, I'm getting a bigger one.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to get a bigger one. And so that was kind of my goal. But, you know, life happens and I want to continue living life. That's the whole point of this lifestyle.
Yeah,
is to really
as
embrace,
fast as you can get
just
back.
do what
in
you want to do.
something and-
You know what I mean? And so savings was a process, a long process. But I've gotten really high, and then life happens, and then you got kind of really high, and then life happens, and then I've gotten the highest I've ever gotten, and this happened. So I'm so close, and my whole thing is, again, you need to have savings, and because when you don't, life especially finds an opportunity to do stuff to you. And luckily, I have savings this time, but it took something that was kind of instrumental to my existence right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm so close. I was like next summer away from comfortably making the purchase.
Making the move to a bigger one. Now,
Yeah.
what are you going for with your
Well,
next
it was
one?
a toss up between the ProMaster 2500.
Okay.
And I haven't really settled. I'm kind of leaving it up to the universe. Whatever's clever about like wheelbase size, extended bay.
Yeah.
And also, like if it's just me, and I was really feeling, just me, I'm not gonna go for the extended bay. But if you got company, the extended bay is kind of nice. That
exactly.
extra 2 feet makes the world of difference in this kind of an environment.
Oh yeah.
So it was between that and the Transit, and I know the Transit's a little bit on a little higher up, and the ProMaster, maybe not all the bells and whistles, but definitely was gonna be my second go-to, and then maybe like Transit after that. Reasons being, like the super boxy. I love that as far as building. You know, I've heard it's just easier to build into it.
Into the ProMaster.
Correct, because it's just a box. You know what I mean? There's not that weird boat shape.
That's
unique, especially from somebody who's not very has a lot of expertise in woodworking.
Yeah.
That was definitely
easier is going to be better.
Yeah, and again, the same philosophy I bought with the current van. Like, I don't want to overcommit, so just take it off in bite-sized pieces that I feel comfortable in. And so that was my next comfortable bite off. And I'm like, oh man, I'm just so close. And to be completely transparent, I was about 25,000 saved up.
Yeah.
And the vans are about, the ones I'm looking at are like 27 to 32.
Okay.
Thousand.
Yeah.
So I'm right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But have you ever gone into it on the side about what you can build it out for as well? Because, a lot of times, as far as after you get the van as well, obviously, there's, you get quite a bit of extra. Obviously, a ton of extra cost in the building it out as well.
No, absolutely. Like this current van was like, I think I've spent close to 15 grand on that last one.
Yeah.
I didn't even finish it. It was a bunch of learning lessons.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm not doing ceramic insulation next time. I might do the acoustic covering of the ceramic stuff, but there's a lot of
which is great to learn those lessons from the first one.
Exactly.
And I love even interviewing people that have gone from like one to another or downsized. It's like, what'd you learn? Like, what made the most sense? Why did you do this, like this part differently? I just interviewed somebody for the episode that came out this week that has gone through now 2 van builds, and then now just did his own like overlanding one to live out of instead of a van.
Awesome.
And it's like, just getting into the like, what'd you do this way? Why'd you switch it to the next one? Whether it's the bed size or the type of bed, or and just getting those. There's like each person is going to have a different need, a different kind of lifestyle.
And that's the beauty of this. It's such a fingerprint of you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and your needs, and it's a direct reflection of who you are. And
that's actually cool because even with what we're in now, it's like if you look at this, like this place like does reflect. Actually, that I'm glad you said it's like it reflects who my wife is as a painter, reflects like who I'm and what I'm trying to do with this and the podcast and that kind of thing. So it's like it is the
moment I walked in here, I don't know, I felt love. Like I felt like I like
that. Thank you. That's probably like the best thing I could ever have somebody say in that is like it feels like, and it has, like this has been the greatest thing we have ever done, like for that extra space from like a tiny living situation to just like have kind of mine and my wife's own area that's like for our creativity and for things
super
like that.
important for the soul.
Yeah, it has been like
sorry,
there's
I'm tearing up for you. That's beautiful, dude. Yeah, no, I you can't see it, but that is gorgeous.
Oh, yeah,
right behind
yeah,
you.
yeah.
You know, and like that, what she was showing me out there with the
Out
spray
there.
paint. God, that's beautiful. That's so cool. It's so
Yeah,
deep.
so it really is. It's a fingerprint of who you are, and I'm so passionate. And I'll be shameless about trying to get money for you to help rebuild this and help kind of go forward, because I know how how important it is, and how like it's your everything. And maybe it might be hard even for people that live in a house to like fully understand, like if your house burnt down, this is the exact same thing. If all of your stuff like.
And with those forest fires that we've had for the last 5 years, and I work at a casino, and casinos are super open to travelers.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many people, and I've kind of stopped doing this just because, and after this experience, I'm definitely going to start doing it again. But, how are you doing tonight? What brings you out?
Yeah.
It's like a conversation starter. And I've had so many times where somebody was just like, this is my last dinner before I have to deal with my life because I just lost everything in the fire. You know what I mean? And it's just like, oh, fuck, I'm so sorry. La, la, la. And it's just some of the most heaviest. It's just, seeing that pain and that my father, we were all living with him as my grandfather and I, and he was going through some difficult times, and he wasn't very expressive about it. And, kind of lost the house, this, that, and the other thing. That's when he started living in his SUV. And he's just one of the most positive individuals that's willing to tackle anything that comes forward from him. And one of the most inspiring people I've ever known. And so when this happened, I mean, it's just kind of in my nature to do so. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, life, like next swing, like let's go.
Yeah.
And
that's the only way to take it, man.
That's the only way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so okay, so back to the story.
Yeah.
Put on the GoFundMe, and again, like I'm expecting nothing. And if
Yeah,
I
it's
were
so
to be,
hard.
and if I were to be guilty of expectation, which I was, we're not perfect. As much as I try to, zen and balance myself and keep, egos in check and all that kind of stuff, I was guilty expectation $200.
Yeah. Wow.
And
to see, and so currently, as of where's it at right now of your goal?
But real quick before I get to that, I just want to express my ultimate gratitude just bumping into you and having that meeting. And for our coworker to just, and her particular position is super unique.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Knowing everybody, getting to know everybody.
Oh, yeah. This particular person knows everybody,
everyone,
every single person.
She's
it's
an
amazing.
absolute blessing. And it's funny. I don't know. I really, when she worked with us, took one shift. We just, loved each other, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? And she comes to the bar all the time, say hi whenever she's in a different position, and just saying, just love her to death. And I told her all this, and she runs off, and I, go about opening my day. And this is Saturday morning. This is the day I've made the GoFundMe about an hour ago, and I'm getting ice in the bar, and she comes up, and this is when I dumped the news on her. And she goes and she disappears. And I'm like, all right, well, I got to go get ice for the bar. So I go to the back, and I find a cart, which always takes a while. Find a cart, get all my stuff in order, and I'm about to just dive in on the ice. And I come back from outside, and there she is standing right next to the ice machine with you. And I'm like, okay. And she goes, oh, just the person I wanted to talk to, wanted to see. Nick, Josh, Nick, and then just kind of described, what you do and the angle of which this relationship that she was in encouraging and enabling to where it was going to go.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was the first, like,
Dude, as long as you need, man.
It was beautiful, and but it was absolutely beautiful, and it was the beginning of so much beauty, and then, we got to talking, and I mean, here we are, and I cannot express to you enough.
From the second it's to me, more than anything, it's like, if I did this for one reason ever, like, this would be worth all of it. Like, if I'm in any way able to help, like, somebody that I had no idea that, I might be able to help, or put something out there where other people can see it and help. And I just like hope that's what we're able to do through this and because it's the story of how amazing van life and traveling or just any kind of alternative living way creates so much freedom. And to see somebody that's lost that ability, it breaks my heart, because I couldn't imagine losing our RV or losing this, or like the other day, I don't know if you saw that, it was all over the news, that kind of truck and RV that was hanging over a bridge, and and to just see that type of thing, it's just like, it's so heartbreaking. So I hope more than anything that we're able to show and more than anything, like, show the community, show how amazing, because that's what's the greatest thing to me, is that the community behind all of these people, they understand each other. They get how it is. They understand the pain and the heartbreak that you can feel, just living this lifestyle.
No, exactly. And I'm glad you brought up community, because with that freedom, there's this, I remember reading, like, what are the bad things about van life? And a lot of people are like, well, you get isolated, you feel alone. And I beg to differ.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. If you're willing to put yourself out there online and just reach out and talk to people, they will talk back. They will guide you through if you have questions. Like, there's so many times, like, I've had questions answered or just advice from people that, like, they didn't have any reason to do it. Like, there's
yeah.
And and just to see that is from the entire community.
My thing is, lifestyle wise, I mean, it's gonna sound silly, but the van life it's been one of the most social opportunities of my life, and I'm a very social guy. Drama, bartending, it's just it aligns with who I am. I get to be creative, I get to be social. It nourishes a lot of parts of myself. And with the van, dude, like, I could go over to my friend's house and we'll have like sleepovers, when we were kids, but then I go back to my space. I don't intrude on it, and like I'm not feeling like I have to get locked down and go back to my place of residence, you know what I mean? That's on the other 2-3 towns away, that kind of thing. So it's allowed me to be so much more social.
That's cool.
And so much more involved in my community. And I, like I said, I'd have to completely say the opposite. I feel utterly embedded into a community. I don't feel isolated at all. And so you were so I made the GoFundMe, got to work, and I'm just like kind of finally dealing with it, because Saturday mornings for me is when I set up the bar for the whole day, and I have a lot of alone time.
Okay.
And usually I've got my Bluetooth speaker and I'm just bumping tunes.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the things I got torched right out the gate.
Oh man.
And
no music.
So it's just like,
I couldn't imagine that.
It's a different vibe. It's a very, very different vibe, but it very quickly turned around. I mean, you were kind of the kicker on that. And next thing I know, I looked at my phone, and within an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, I had jumped up to like $700. And again, like,
before you're beating your expectations that you even thought, like within an hour, like
out of the water.
Yeah.
And that was 7 people. Like, people are donating $100 at a time. And it's just bizarre, absolutely bizarre and surreal. And then, a couple hours later, and money aside, I'm receiving so much love.
Like love and support. Yeah.
Love and support, you know what I mean? And like, people are reposting the GoFundMe and saying what they wanted to say. And I made a point to like screenshot that whole experience, every conversation, and I try to keep it anonymous just, for people's privacy. Yeah. But I wanted the love that they were showing to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
You know, and I have a couple highlights on my. It's really interesting because, you know, highlights on Instagram, they have like 100 photo cap.
Yeah.
And this last incident, me dumping the van onto the property wouldn't fit on the last van highlight that I had. So it was super symbolic. So I had to start a new highlight for that. And that's been this whole new process.
And then
So so I have all these screenshots of all these different conversations of people just sending their love. And again, I'm still at work. Another 3 hours later, I'm already at $1,000. A couple hours later, I'm at 1,400. And then I think that night it ended at like 15. And I woke up the next morning and it was at 2,500. And it just kept going all day. And then I had worked that night, and then Monday morning it got up to Monday at the end of last night, it got up to 3,700, 3,800. And I put the goal, because where I was with my savings, I was at 25. Figured 35, if I get something for what I'm aiming for, if I can squeeze them down to 27 to 30, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can start doing some things you need.
Yeah, or at least have a buffer. Exactly. And life, again, always finds a way.
Yeah.
To take your money. And so I put this silly goal, but I was like, this is just, and I wasn't doing it in hopes that I'll reach that. Is like, this is just the math of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was very frank with that in the description. Like, I'm at 25, I can get to 35.
Yeah, and I applaud you for being like that. Like, I don't know if most people would really necessarily put out all that information and where they're at with their own savings, and some people probably would not want to talk about it. And I think that is, commendable, and say like, this is the situation and this is what it is, and I think that's amazing for that.
My cousin was talking to me the other day, and because again, I was just taking a video of just me dealing with it, and he said and it really touched my heart. He said there was an incredible amount of strength watching you openly being that vulnerable.
It seriously is.
And for me, it's more of a message to one, to myself, but two, to show the people this is real. This is okay.
Yeah.
It's not like we're playing this game where I have to keep my cards close to my chest. I have nothing to hide from you.
Yeah.
Like, this is life. And if you're ever in this situation, you need to know what to expect.
Yeah. And what
you know what I mean?
Pitfalls to avoid,
and how real it can be.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't say hate, but really don't like it when, some of that information's kind of left behind the curtain.
Yeah.
And I've got no issue just unveiling that. But yeah, so last night it got up to 3,700, 3,800. And I put 10,000 as the goal, just because that's what I need to get there.
Yeah.
And within the first 3 days, I'm almost halfway.
Yeah.
And
we're gonna do it, dude. We're gonna do everything we can, man, to get you there.
I can't even begin. I don't know. I cried a lot. I've cried a lot. And not
I'm a crier too, and I'm shocked at myself right now that I'm not crying. It's like this whole time, it's just like, okay.
I didn't cry once for the burning of the van.
Yeah.
But I could not help myself for the compassion and the love
that
everyone has been showing me. And I don't know. It's absolutely surreal experience to have such a high partnered with such a low.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's such the ebb and flow of life. And I'm so grateful. And I don't know, reading some of the things, like when people would repost, you know, they didn't have to do that, and they didn't tag me, so it's not like they did it, for attention.
Yeah.
They did it out of their heart, and I don't know, man. It was just so such love, and it's given me a lot of mental stability to keep going forward and keep tackling and keep smiling and keep looking forward. You know what I mean? Instead of dwelling, and I haven't dwelled at all. There's no time to dwell. I haven't had time to dwell.
That's a hard
I
one.
mean, this is
too,
4 or 5 days ago. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So
it
these
is-
next 2 days that you have off, like you need to
This is the
take
dwelling
these. Yeah, like you get 2 days. You need to heal in 2 days.
it's so real. It's so real.
Oh, man.
But yeah, and I don't know, man. So it's just been a wild ride.
Yeah, this has been a crazy one. I mean, and for anybody out there, we will have the link below. We'll have the link in everything that we have for our Instagram. And anybody that's watches this or hear this, if you can give anything from $1 to $5 to whatever,
And
it
that's
all
honestly
helps.
all I was expecting to,
Yeah,
dude.
and if you
Like,
can't give anything, send your love, send a message.
I've said that so many times,
Man,
dude.
but it's so true. Like words.
I have so many friends like, dude, I'm sorry, I'm in a hard place with my brother. Like, I love you. Like, your love is more than enough. And people like, and if they do donate like $100, which is just astronomical, they're like, I'm sorry, it's not a lot. And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, but yeah, so
This has been not the podcast I ever expected to have with the van from my work, that the mystery van from my work. This is the last thing I think I may have ever expected.
hey, well, hopefully, there's a episode 2 coming up.
We
Follow
will
up with the new one.
absolutely
You know
have
what
an
I mean?
episode 2, and we'll give some tours of it.
Yeah. Oh, big time.
Love it.
Big facts. But no, it's been an absolute. I don't even know. It's such a human experience, and it's such, like, you can't ask for a more genuine experience.
Yeah. Like you said before, like the lows and the highs, the very lowest and then the very, feeling gratitude from other humans and for all humans, I think is the highest experience of that joy and that gratitude. And so to see both of those happen within such a small amount of time, I can understand it.
And that's I like how you redefine that, or put attention to that polarity, because that's exactly what I named, or why I named the I didn't know what to name the fundraiser on GoFundMe. I didn't know what to name it, but I was considering, I already kind of put my mentality on the trajectory for success, and manifestation and law of attraction and all that kind of stuff. And so I named it Project Phoenix.
I love it. You see the Phoenix out there?
Dude, you don't understand.
Yeah, I know.
Like, the uncanniness I was experiencing. That's why I almost cried out there.
Man.
So it's just a lot of that.
For any of you that can't see, obviously, out in our yard, my wife has this huge thing that she can paint on walls, and she had painted this huge phoenix kind of overtaking this lady. And yeah, that's
the synchronicity of this whole experience has been unreal. It's I mean, I don't want to, touch into any kind of faith, but it has been almost divine. It's absolutely bizarre and just uncanny and surreal, to the point where it almost feels like it's a script, and and then little stuff like that keeps happening, and it's just like,
it's the little things.
It's unreal. But yeah, so
dude, I'm so thankful that we were able to do this and the timing of all that. And so thank you, Nick, for coming on. Just I'm so thankful that you've seen love from the community. I believe with all my heart that you're going to reach your goal, and that you're going to have the van that you need, and that this is going to be a good experience, that from this we're going to find people that can help you work on the van, and find people that are carpenter, whatever we can try to do, man.
I appreciate
that's
you.
That's what I want to do.
I can't even express to you my gratitude. Like, it's just not, words would not do it justice. Dude, just know that I'm so,
thank you, man.
So thankful.
Thank you, dude. I don't know of a better way to end it. I'm not sure, but thank anybody that watches. Thank you for watching, and if you can give, please give. Next week, we're joined by Nate Murphy. Come along as we talk about using van life as a tool to live an adventurous life, and how creating a home base can lead to even more freedom.